ever feel lonely? Lonely.
Help. Please help me. I just want to die.
Hey everyone, it's Wildman, and in today's video I did want to take a little bit more of a dive into some more disturbing YouTube channels. Videos that really made me question everything, because why was I watching these at 2 in the morning? But for some reason the best time to look for these kinds of videos, at least for me, has been really late at night, because for some reason the algorithm kind of knows that I'm searching for them and wants to freak me out. So hopefully you aren't doing the same thing as me, watching this late at night as well. And as you might notice, we are in a little bit of a different setup. I did end up moving last week, but hopefully you do like it, and if not, let me know what I can do to add back there. There's some empty wall space right here and also right here, so if you have any suggestions, let me know. But before we begin, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. It does a cool animation now, as well as liking the video and commenting bruh as usual, because all these things for some reason actually do help me out a lot. So if you could do them, that'd be awesome. Alright, so the first channel I wanted to take a look into is a channel called Tim Oxton, a channel that would begin uploading to YouTube back in around 2015. Tim would begin uploading videos of concerts, specifically from a band called Scully, performing a song called No Sense. And the first couple of uploads on his channel were essentially just that, recordings of bands and anything he felt like uploading to the channel, like a few other uploads sprinkled here and there.
And I wanted to do a review or comparison video for off-brand flashes.
But it wouldn't be until October 2nd where Tim would publish a video called Silk Bulb Test Teaser. And the following videos that were uploaded to the channel were made with the intent to promote the upcoming release of his game, which is still in production, called the Silk Bulb Test. And there is actually a demo version of this game out right now. I think Markiplier played it as well, but we will dive into that after the uploads that were made onto the channel. In a following video, we are shown a variety of different uncanny faces before being told today was special. There also seems to be a body laying on the ground in one of the frames. The rest of the channel is filled with some very unsettling imagery, including an entity covered in tendrils making its way toward you. As well as this very creepy video where you are in this liminal space with only one thing in front of you, a button. Also, another thing you might notice is that these videos are pretty short in length, only reaching at most a minute long, and they really more so act as teasers for the final product, which would be the Silk Bulb game. And like I said earlier, these were pretty much made to entice the viewer to check out the game, with video titles that leave you wondering what horrors lie inside of this game. Titles like, Do You Feel Guilty When You're Alone?
Do you ever feel lonely? Lonely. Do you feel guilty when you're alone?
Floating in Space, and Participant 47A.
7, 8, 4, 9,
which does make it seem like there is some sort of experimentations on people going on within these videos. And the last video I wanted to show you guys before we go ahead and check out the actual demo is a video called Silk Bulb Employee Orientation, which really does give us a sense of what is truly in store for us, at least for the demo version.
Hello and welcome. As a new member of the Protein Agricultural Labs family, this is the first day of a new journey. A journey that feeds millions.
The orientation details the Protein Agricultural Labs, which seem to be this company that was created with the purpose of creating artificial meat to combat the harvesting of meat from animals. However, how this meat is being created is unknown, because when the tape cuts out, we're running through an endless hallway being pursued by a creature that emerges from this meat-like cave, which reminds me a lot of Dead Space and also Vita Carnis.
We look forward to your future here, and remember, today is...
And that's really the last video from the channel, at least, that I did want to mention here, because when we dive into the demo, things get way more disturbing. And within a prologue for the game, it states the following: "You're late. We were about to start without you. Through that elevator on your left, please. And then down the hallway, don't lollygag. We're behind enough as it is. If the elevator stops, under no circumstances should you exit before reaching the correct floor. Repeat that to me, please, so that I know you understood it. Okay, thank you. When you get there, take a seat at the center table. The test will begin shortly. Do not speak to the other participants. Do not take any photographs. Do not write down your memories of it. And do not look directly into the slide projector." What? No, it's a slide projector. It won't do any damage, but you won't be able to see, and we need you to see. If the test ends prematurely, do be a dear and try again. Sometimes all you need is a fresh mind to a problem to get a different result. And with that, the test begins. And in front of us there are two buttons, A and B, to which you are prompted by a series of questions that slowly get increasingly more morbid before nightmare fuel creatures start to appear within your midst. And the game actually does a very excellent job at getting you to focus on the task of answering the questions, making it so it distracts you from the real threat that lurks within the darkness. There's also this really disturbing segment where a man is laying against a wall and seems to be dead as a door slowly opens. After which the game begins to glitch out and you're given a new set of questions, this time saying, is this an image of a friend? Then, is this a stranger? But then the game starts to get really meta, almost like Doki Doki, and it begins to ask you if you ate breakfast this morning, and if you did you do so alone? Do you do this often? You prefer being alone. Then why are you here? I don't know. You feel alone in a crowd. You are alone. It wasn't a question. You fear the unknown, then don't look behind you. And it's then when these figures begin to surround you. Alright, so the next channel on the list is called TJR Films, and although the channel only has one upload on there, I did think that it was really creepy and did want to include it here. The video was uploaded on October 20th, and in the description it states, on October 2nd, 2008, 19-year-old Sydney Barber, an urban explorer, disappeared while investigating an abandoned research facility in Maricopa County, Arizona. The area was searched by several different government agencies, all of which claimed that no trace of Sydney was found. 15 years later, footage from Sydney's camcorder on the night she disappeared was leaked to the public by an unknown source. The following string of recordings have since become known as the Sydney Barber tapes. Alright, so within the actual tapes, we are introduced to Sydney Barber, a 19-year-old college student that went exploring in this abandoned facility. And we get to watch as she engages in yet again another urban expedition. However, compared to her previous ventures, this time it would be completely different and would not end well.
Camera on, light on. Here we go.
And the first sign that there is something off about this place is that a doll is perfectly placed on this countertop.
Fuck that.
However, this is just the beginning, as Sydney makes her way into the following room, to which a message begins to project on the wall in front of her.
Thank you, Dr. Miller, for coming in on such short notice. We'll get started. Records show that you were working as a laboratory technician on the night of August 8th, 1953. Is this correct?
Yes, that is correct.
What can you tell us about the incident from 24?
In this recording, we're shown an investigation that took place in 1953 regarding a fellow technician that was seemingly killed on the job. And the person that's being investigated within this recording is a person named Dr. Miller, who was also a laboratory technician that was working alongside the person that was killed. And it's also revealed to us that the incident happened on August 18th, 1953 in a room called 24. Dr. Miller says that she heard screaming coming from the other room until revealing something extremely chilling.
I was in my office finishing up charts for the day. I heard screaming. I ran out and Dr. Reynolds. Oh, Jesus.
Where was Dr. Reynolds?
He was everywhere. On the ceiling, on the floor, the walls.
Where was Asset 0235?
That thing is no asset. It's a monster. We created a monster. Oh God, we're not seeing it.
Dr. Miller says that somehow through the experimentations they have been doing at the facility, it somehow created a creature that killed Dr. Reynolds, essentially ripping him apart, which is why she says that his body parts were all over the room. The creature is known as Asset 0235. And it's then where Dr. Miller has the realization of what she has contributed to creating, and then she does this.
You can't make me.
Dr. Miller.
I can't go down there. I won't go down there.
Sydney leaves the room, and instead of exploring any further, at this point she's just trying to find a way out of the facility. But on trying to find an exit, she finds Asset 0235. Fortunately, she is able to evade the creature for a while longer, but when Sydney enters what appears to be an exit, when she's inside, it transforms into an elevator. Sydney, even noticing this herself, however thinks that it's her own mind playing tricks on her.
What the fuck? I'm losing my mind.
This lapse in her own judgment most likely resulting from the insane amounts of fear that she's experiencing within the first 5 minutes of being in this building. While exploring floor 13, Sydney's questions only increase by tenfold. Why is she here, and more importantly, why can't she escape? The atmosphere of this floor is also very unsettling. And eventually Sydney does come across room 24, the room where Dr. Reynolds was killed. And it isn't long before his killer reveals itself to Sydney. Sydney makes her way into this room and uncovers a DARE laboratory log. It shows that both Dr. Reynolds and Dr. Miller were working on asset 0235, but as soon as Sydney reads the report, the creature finds her.
Laboratory log. Who's there?
But yeah, I really did enjoy this short, which is why I decided to include this channel on this video, because I do want to see a lot more from this channel if that's possible. And if you do go ahead and watch the entire video on your own, you can really see the amount of tension that's building up the entire time, so much so that you can probably cut it with a knife. Also, what's really cool is that the short film was created by the students at the Sidney Poitier New American Film School at Arizona State University. So shout out to AZ, I was there not too long ago, but nonetheless a very good short film. Alright, so for this next one, this is one that a lot of you guys were telling me to take a look at, and it is the Dreams of Insomniac series, which was uploaded and created by Postra. Postra being a horror channel, which also does a lot of similar videos to what we do as well, but during Halloween last year, Postra would create an analog horror series of their own, one that would completely terrify their audience. So for the first installment, it went live on October 31st, 2022. Also, what's super cool is that Lyra Horrors also worked on this project as well, creating the video's original OST. Lyra Horrors being the creator of Radar, an analog horror short that we covered in our last video, which tells the mysterious story of Nathan, who we find trapped in his room with no means of escape every night at the same time. He's plagued by an entity that appears in his TV and tries to reach out to him.
Nathan, you need to wake up.
So if you are interested in that video, I'll have it linked in the description as well as the pinned comment. Alright, so cutting back to Dreams of an Insomniac, in the description of the first video, it states, "Your name is Tommy Merrick. While visiting your old family home, you stumbled across a strange box of tapes in the attic. Out of curiosity, you decided to watch them on your old CRTV. You think they might be haunted. While watching the tapes, you begin to see and hear things that weren't meant to be there. For some reason, they felt oddly familiar to you. This is Dreams of an Insomniac."
Residents of Eastridge County were left baffled today at the news of a supposed break-in that happened in the early hours of the morning. The break-in occurred at the local Halloween retail store, Grimzo's, with the culprit of this break-in having stolen one thing, and one thing only.
And as these tapes begin to roll, we're told that in Eastridge County there was a break-in at a local Halloween store called Grimzo's. But the most bizarre thing about these break-ins is that only one item was stolen from the shop. What's even weirder is that everything else in the store was smashed up and broken to pieces. And later into the video, it is revealed to us the one item they did steal, which was a Halloween costume, which only makes it even weirder. As the tape continues, it states that 6 young children have gone missing, and all of the disappearances happened within an hour.
Oh, if you ask me, this whole story is just a bunch of malarkey. Some kids break in some Halloween shop for a costume. Single bit of it. pretty much nothing from that newspaper can be trusted anyway. Some representative was corrupt. Now,
whether you believe this ridiculous story,
to which we are then shown the children that were taken that night, as well as a description of the kidnapper.
Nobody knows where these kids went, and nobody knows who did it.
the names of the missing children are as follows: Jason McDonald, John Thompson, Ashley Wright, William Lewis, Norman Harris, and Sam Wilson. Police have spent the better part of the night searching for both these children as well as the culprit behind this heinous crime. While no one in the local area has been suspected yet, an eyewitness report described the culprit as wearing an orange, striped costume with horns, a tail, and a black mask depicting bright yellow eyes and teeth. It's advised that all residents of Eastridge County avoid anyone seen outside who fits this description.
These tapes only get increasingly more disturbing the farther we get into them, as police are baffled as well and unable to find the missing children, and the parents are in complete despair. On the night of October 6th, 1986, these photos were taken by a security camera located in the Grimzo's retail store at exactly 6 a.m. Lights appeared to turn on by themselves. No other disturbances are apparent. Motion was detected within the store. Items appeared to be thrown around and damaged. And this is where things begin to take a shift in tone, because we are then shown who the abductor looks like. These photos, as well as a description from an eyewitness, were the only two pieces of information we had regarding the anonymous entity known as the East Ridge Demon until today. And after this section, we are given an incredibly dreadful piece of information saying that there was an officer named Kruger who came face to face with this demon. However, that after he encountered it, he was put in multiple years of psychological and physical therapy. And it isn't until now where he's finally able to articulate what happened during his encounter.
After multiple years of extensive mental and physical therapy, Officer Kruger, a surviving victim of the demon, was finally able to inform detectives of the events that transpired on the night he came face to face with this dangerous creature.
It appears to be capable of causing both visual and auditory hallucinations to those that are within close proximity to it. This makes it incredibly difficult to locate and contain the creature.
The information he provides details how the creature can create auditory and visual hallucinations, which makes it extremely hard to locate. To combat this, officers are instructed to stay with another officer at all times, take note of surroundings, and to not trust anyone if you believe yourself to be hallucinating. And honestly, for this last rule, I'm not sure how effective that would even be, considering the fact if you were to follow this advice, it would make you extremely paranoid and maybe even cause you to turn on your partner. However, things get surprisingly more disturbing when it begins to describe the physical altercations that happened to Officer Kruger following his encounter with the demon. Included in the abnormalities were decolorization of the skin, severe weight loss, tightening of the skin, the fusing of bone and flesh, teeth growing where they shouldn't, and bleeding from every orifice, and all of these resulting from simply being touched by the creature. And personally, I think the growing of teeth in places where it shouldn't be is the most chilling thing that I've ever heard. Like, can you imagine finding teeth on your arms and potentially your legs and throat? I just find that an extremely terrifying concept. Then we get this really creepy sequence of a man being grabbed by skeletons coming from underneath the ground. But this is interrupted by an emergency alert system.
As Halloween night begins to set in, all residents of Eastridge County should be reminded that the Smiling Snatcher is out tonight. This monster is very real and threatens the safety of all Eastridge County residents,
which tells residents of East Ridge the rules to follow to avoid the demon. The first is to be inside your home by 6 p.m. because that's when the Smiling Snatcher, its new name, begins to come out. The second is to lock all your windows and doors. But rule number 3 is this.
Rule number 3. You do not hear the knocking at your doors or windows. hours.
Then it flows into the next rule that if you see anyone you know outside past curfew, that is not them, but in reality is the smiling snatcher wearing their skin. And the final rule is the rule that we've been told in the past, to not trust anyone wearing this costume.
Do not trust anyone you see wearing this costume.
But with 2 installments still to come, the following episode is called In Loving Memory, which really does give us a new perspective as to what is going on here. In the description of this second tape, it reads, after viewing the first tape you found in the attic, you found yourself too afraid to put another one in the VCR. Trying to forget what you saw, you went to bed that night to try and get some much needed rest. But those things you witnessed, those things you heard, they kept you up. The curiosity began to eat away at you. So you went back to your CRT late into the night, and despite your fear, you put in another tape. So in the beginning of this new tape, we're shown an image of Officer Kruger, but followed by an extended version of the interview we saw in the last tape.
A bunch of kids going into some Halloween store to steal a costume? Yeah, no. If you ask me, this whole thing is just some trumped up news story for some small town.
Alright, cut, come on. Do you think anyone's gonna believe this? We're trying to make a news story here, man. Come on. What do you mean we're running out of time? Fine, we'll use one of the older cuts.
Which, after seeing this small clip, really does make the demon seem like an orchestrated threat. Perhaps a fear-mongering tactic to distract the people of Eastridge County from the real threat. But again, this leaves us with more questions than answers, because why would you terrify people into thinking that there is a demon on the loose who is stealing your children and will disfigure your body? But as the tape continues, we are shown a memorial video for the 31-year-old police officer. It states that Officer Kruger was found in his son's closet, having terminated his own life with a rope. After which we are shown the letter that Kruger left behind. And now this letter is extremely blurry and hard to read, but a user in one of the comments of this video named Sam-FV5KJ did comment having solved what this letter really says. To my dearest son, I know that you may be confused by everything going on over the last year. It's not fair that you had to deal with it, and I'm sorry that I can't be the one to help you through it. Truth be told, your old man had a hard time processing it himself. You spent so long with everything being the same that the moment that everything changes, you can't accept it. I might be wrong, I just can't. I think every day about what I would have done if it were you that was taken by that thing. It chases after children, not just me. Though does it make every day the key remains of why we are here. When you grow up, I hope that one day you'll be able to protect your son, to have such a life. You deserve to be happy. Had no better choice. Speaking of, my father, who's a deadbeat, won't be here. I'm sorry I won't be able to give you that life. But trust me, it's live or die. Something I'm not doing. But after this letter, we are given the biggest shock of this mini-series, because we're shown Kenneth Kruger, but if we look at the dates, they don't match up, because here it says that Kenneth lived a total of 9 years after the memorial service said that he did. Someone had taken Kenneth and kept him hostage.
Help. Please help me. I just want to die. Why won't you let me die?
Because I still have use for you yet.
In the final installment in this series called Photo Album, we try and uncover the secrets of what happened to Kenneth Kruger, and more importantly, what happened and what is the Smiling Demon. In the description it reads, looking through the collection of tapes once more, you find a set which seems to be out of place. They're kept in a separate box with the name Alex Williams crudely written on it, with what looks to be a cheap black marker. Looking inside, you see that all the tapes within are labeled as being part of a Foundation archive. Curiosity gets the best of you once more, and you put the first tape you find into your VCR. On the night of January 6, 1987, the ECPD had received a phone call from a distressed man reporting that someone was trying to break into his home. Upon the dispatcher's arrival, he as well as anyone else who may have been living in the house were reported missing. The only evidence that could be found at the scene of the crime was a photo album, as well as a camcorder which seemingly contained footage of the events which transpired on that night. Upon opening the photo album, detectives were baffled to find that all of the photos within were horribly distorted. This made it incredibly difficult to identify the people being depicted. We're then brought to the camcorder footage dated January 6th, 1987. Search number 6. It's a cold, empty night. When detectives questioned neighboring residents about the identity of the family in the photos, none were able to provide any useful information. One resident went as far as to say that no family had ever lived in that house. It was like they never existed.
Sammy? Sammy, is that you? I'm right here, Sammy. You're gonna have to help me though, honey. I can't find you.
While the culprit behind these disappearances remains a mystery. Several photos in the album, as well as the 911 call made that night, suggest that they may not be human. The man eventually makes it back home, having survived the encounter, and calls 911.
Please send help. There's someone or something trying to get in my house. I don't know what it wants. No, I didn't get located. But I'm telling you, it's the demon.
But before the authorities can arrive, the demon reveals itself to him. And terrifying enough, it's wearing his son's skin.
Why do you keep using his face? Why are you doing this to me?
So there is a lot going on in this series, which is kind of hard to wrap my head around the entire thing, but as a general theory as to what I think is going on here, it seems like there is this entity going around the county, taking children and adults alike, and those who are able to get away are permanently, psychologically, and physically damaged. However, simultaneously, there's also a foundation responsible for this that is controlling the creature, as we're told that the viewing of this final tape was only meant for the eyes of authorized Foundation personnel. But for what purpose does this serve? Why terrorize and ruin the lives of so many people? It is unknown.
Please help me. I just want to die.
But yeah, very well executed analog horror series, so I hope we do get more of it, because I really liked it. And yeah, please feel free to let me know which one of these channels freaked you out the most. For me, it was definitely Dreams of an Insomniac. Just that concept of teeth growing all over your body just really freaks me out. And probably gonna have a nightmare about it tonight. Also, huge shout out to my channel members and my ultimate tiers: Kareem Arellano, Alejandro from the Tower, K-Pop Lover X3, and Knight98. If you want early access to videos, it's only $1.99, and you get your name right here, which is pretty cool. But yeah, thank you so much for spending some time with me. It's always super great. Your time is super valuable, so I'd appreciate you spending it with me. Alright, see you later. Bye. Love you.